Ever since I started this channel, one video topic has been requested more than any other: diet. Usually I make videos about training, that's the part I enjoy most, but at a certain point, I can't keep you waiting any longer, so here we are. Before getting into my main thoughts on the subject, I just want to make clear I'm not advocating for or going against any one particular diet or lifestyle. As far as I'm concerned, it's none of my business or anyone else's what you do, what you eat, or what you think about it. I'll also say this is not an attempt to prove or disprove any of the current research. This is all just me talking from personal experience. If you think I'm wrong on anything, I'm open to hearing your opinions. I'm always interested in learning something new. That out of the way, here's my take. Most of us here in the YouTube fitness space are concerned with optimization. We want every minor detail to be as perfect as we can get it. We want a solid foundation for adding muscle and strength. We want to optimize health and do everything in our power to get more out of life. Diet is a great way to do that. Moving from an unhealthy diet to a healthy one is sure to improve all those things that need improving: energy levels, general well-being, actually enjoying life rather than just getting through it. I think that's pretty great. A focus on health and fitness is never a bad thing. That said, from personal experience, an obsession with it can be. More on that soon, but first the basics. You probably already know what healthy food is. Set aside all modern farming practices and pollutants and plastics and all that. Put a fast food meal next to some real, whole food, and you know which one is better. A potato is better than fast food French fries. Anyone with half a mind can see that. And that's really the heart of it. Going beyond that is scraping the barrel, in my opinion. Any time spent obsessing over the small details is often more trouble than it's worth. Even for us lifters, diet is made out to be this all-important thing, probably because there's a lot of money to be made there, but there's really not much to it. Count your macros if you want, try high carb, low carb, high fat, low fat, whatever you want. Maybe one will work better for you as an individual, but personally, I don't think it's that important. I've tried every combination there is over the years, and honestly, any difference I felt was insignificant compared to how it felt moving from a processed diet to a whole food diet. When you eat the right foods, the macros fall into place on their own. If I were to sum up my take on diet in one sentence, it would be: focus on natural, whole foods and you'll be fine. This is either the best thing you've heard in a while or the worst. I realize diet is often seen as a kind of final frontier, something that's always out there waiting for you. One final trick you have waiting up your sleeve you could use to make life easier. But past a certain point, life is still hard, regardless of the foods you eat. That's just how it is. I do have more to say on this, however, because I believe there's something else unrelated to diet that's equally as important. Let me tell you a quick story about myself. Picture a regular guy interested in fitness who works 40 to 50 hours a week at a job he doesn't get much joy from, who goes home after that job and watches 6 hours of TV and goes to bed. He does that same routine 5 or 6 days a week, and on his off days he can barely muster up the energy to go shopping, let alone to do something non-essential, something fun. This guy feels drained of energy at all times and looks for a solution in diet. He already eats a whole food diet, but it's not working. He wants more. He spends days and weeks taking notes on every video he can find on micronutrients, and even goes against his better judgment and watches some of the extreme takes on different meal plans. He starts building up his supplement list. He tries every fad diet, giving each one a real honest try. Every change seems to help a bit at first, but before long, he always finds himself back at that baseline, low energy place. He's even worse off than before. Knowing all these things, but feeling no change from any of them is discouraging. The advertisement said these diets were a cure to happiness. Why aren't they working? He eventually accepts his fate and goes on with his mundane, hermit-esque life. After talking with many of you, I know you can relate. So many of us look for the answer to our lack of drive and motivation and lust for life in diet, but past a certain point, it won't be found there. Fixing imbalances is sure to help. Eating good foods will help too, but those things won't change who you are. The secret is found elsewhere. If you take one thing away from this video, it should be this: you're not miserable because you haven't found the right diet or because something is wrong with you. You're miserable because your world is too small. You may not want to hear it, but the secret to happiness isn't found in diet. It's determined by how you spend your life. How many of you live like I described before? Work, home, bed, work, home, bed, repeat forever. Throw in a few gym sessions every week. I guarantee it's a lot of you. This is the true key to absolute misery, making your world so small that nothing ever happens. We need to feel uncomfortable. We need excitement and mystery and new things if we ever want even the smallest chance of feeling true joy, of seeing beauty in the world. The typical modern lifestyle isn't set up for this. It's incredibly easy to live a stagnant life, never doing anything outside of what's normal for you. Expanding your world is hard. It will be uncomfortable, but I'm telling you, it's how you'll truly change the way you feel about life. Picture the typical old man who spends his days sitting by his window, watching to see if anyone walks on his lawn. This guy is as miserable as it gets. His retired world is so incredibly small, his house and his yard, that every small thing becomes a huge annoyance. Think about how significant every small event is in a life where so little happens. His wife puts a drink on the table without a coaster, and it's this huge thing because compared to nothing, that's a definite something. If he were to instead spend his time outside, visiting places where he can't have absolute control over everything, or even just took up a new hobby, a drink with no coaster would become such a small thing that it wouldn't bother him. And keep in mind, expansion isn't just about physical space. You can make a small apartment a pretty big place if you put in some effort. The more things that happen in your life, the less importance is placed on each one, and the happier you'll be. Get on a whole food diet and start living your life, and I guarantee you'll laugh about the time you wasted worrying about 100% optimization. Here's another example to get you thinking. When's the last time you went on a road trip? Think back to it. Most people on road trips eat horrible food, gas station chips and soda. If you ate that stuff at home, there's a very high chance you'd feel terrible pretty soon after. But you eat that stuff on a road trip and you can't be bothered. You feel fine as ever because there's so much going on. You aren't in your usual routine, and that makes all the difference. Breaking free from routine is enough to make the small things insignificant. One last thought on this topic. Aren't some diets just objectively better than others? Can't we look to the average lifespans of different cultures and base our diets on those who live the longest? What about the blue zones? Well, that's not a bad idea, but it misses the point. Saying a group of people lives longer because of their diet is like saying someone running the starting strength barbell training program got massive because they added some extra isolation work on their off days. Sure, the diet contributed, the isolation work contributed, but you can't determine the lifespan of a person based on one factor. You can't base the results of a program on only one part of it. How did those blue zone people spend their days? Were they happy? Did they sit in an office building all day? How was their social life, and how supportive were the communities they lived in? How common was drinking and smoking and other recreational drug use? There are so many factors at play in the entirety of a life. It can't hurt to base your diet on those who have lower rates of disease and whatever else. In fact, I'd say that's a pretty good idea, but lifestyle is just as important. If you want all the things that are said to come with a better diet, improved mood, more energy, higher sex drive, an easier time building muscle, yes, eat reasonable foods. That part is very important, but just as important as everything else, expand your world. And that's my take on diet. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.